Now joining me to talk about all of this here in Toronto, Andrew Coyne in a special Friday appearance, and Don Martin in our Parliamentary Bureau tonight. Don, I'm going to start with you. You're there in Ottawa. Do you have any idea why Helena Georges resigned and why the Prime Minister called the RCMP?
Well, Terry's on the right drift there, Carol. This has nothing to do with airport meltdowns or staff misbehavior or any buying running shoes on the public tab. This has everything to do with implicating an email trail through government BlackBerries between Ms. Georges and her husband, Rahim Jaffer. Now, I don't know the specifics. I gather they're not going to be long in coming out, but it was clear from the Prime Minister's swift and unilateral reaction that these are not just routine emails that suggest you should meet this person. It probably goes much deeper than that to implicate Ms. Georges and somehow in this influence peddling allegation that was raised in the Star.
Right, exactly. They are rather extreme measures. Andrew, Georges was not only kicked out of cabinet, she was kicked out of caucus as well, which meaning she's going to have to sit as an independent. What would it take for a Prime Minister to take these actions?
I think the combination that you've got here of allegations of criminal wrongdoing, which would clearly make, even if the person was eventually cleared, would mean they could not sit in cabinet while they were under a cloud of suspicion. But ally that with the political toxicity surrounding her and her husband generally, and the fact that they're deeply unpopular in caucus, you've got the perfect confluence of events there where the public interest would demand that she be taken out of the cabinet, and the political interest would dictate that she be drummed as far away from the Prime Minister, the cabinet, and the party as possible.
Okay. Do Democratic interests dictate that the Prime Minister, Andrew, I'll direct this to you and I'll ask you, Don, second, that the Prime Minister owes the country an explanation of why this has happened right now?
Yes. I don't think it's sufficient to say, well, you know, these are there are allegations. I'm not going to tell you what they are. As Don is suggesting, they're already starting to come out in dribs and drabs. It's not fair to her, first of all, to have people speculating and all kinds of wild rumors circulating. But certainly you can't just tell the public, well, we just made this change in government because of allegations of criminal wrongdoing, but we're going to leave you in the dark of what they are.
Don, do you think there's any compelling reason for the Prime Minister to handle it this way, with secrecy around the reasons why?
Not really, because our imagination's probably far worse than the realities of allegations, Carol, to be honest with you. And all he's going to do is cause a feeding frenzy of speculation, and everyone's trying to find leaks to find out what's really going on. I don't think it's productive to his trying to clear the air on this at all. It's going to meet the House of Commons into a feeding frenzy next week as everyone's trying to figure out what on earth went on.
All right. Moving away from whether the Prime Minister should have said anything or not, what are the political implications, the fallout for this government, given what's happened here today? Andrew.
It's going to depend on what we find out is in fact the allegation, and if in fact it's true. But if it's anything to do with influence peddling, as was sort of in the air there in the earlier part of the interview, that's particularly toxic for a government that came to power on the promise of cleaning up government, as successive governments have of both parties. And they really don't want people to be able to fall into that old routine of liberal or Tory, same old story. They were trying to suggest that they were different, and anything that touches on that is toxic.
Don, very quickly, does the Prime Minister get any political points for handling it this way, assuming that he only knew about it last night?
Yes, I think he does. I mean, this is clearly a very affirmative action that he's taken on this one, and I think you really couldn't have gone much further. It's not like you can call a public inquiry into this, so he's done what he could. I just think he's made a mistake by leaving us dangling as to what the cause of this all is. All
right. Don Martin in Ottawa tonight, Andrew Coyne here in Toronto. Thank you both so much.
Thanks, Carol.